one moment, his world collapsed. James Carter, CEO of the billion-dollar tech empire Carter Tech, a man who seemed untouchable, now lies helpless in a freezing Chicago alley. Blood spills, breath shallow, no one stops to help. His attackers vanish into the dark, stealing secrets that could destroy the company he built over a decade. But the worst shock, not the attack, not the blood on snow. A small voice from the night changes everything. "Dad, I'm Sophie, your daughter." 7 words. Just 7 words. They hit James harder than any fist. An 8-year-old girl, never met, never known, just saved his life. And dropped a truth that turns his world upside down. Who is Sophie? Why does she know James? What secret, buried for 8 years, erupts in this fateful moment? This isn't just a story of an attack or a family secret. It's a journey of a man facing his past. A brave girl changing the world. A family drawn together by destiny on the edge of life and death. But can they outrun the shadows closing in? Watch to the end to uncover the truth behind the attack. And a moment so moving, you won't hold back tears. Don't look away. This story will make you believe that sometimes the most precious things come from the most unexpected moments. Because sometimes one small act can save an entire life. James Carter opened his eyes, vision blurred. Cold white hospital lights stabbed through, pulling him from a thick mental fog. The steady beep of a heart monitor droned, blending with nurses' whispers in the hall. He tried to move, sharp chest pain forced a gasp. Fragmented images flashed, a snow-draped alley, relentless fists, blood staining his white coat. Then that voice, small, resolute, cutting Chicago's night. "Dad, I'm Sophie, your daughter." 7 words. Just 7. They echoed, shattering the perfect shell he'd built around his life. He turned his head, straining to focus. Beside the bed, on a worn plastic chair, sat the girl. Sophie, curled up, clutching a tattered brown teddy bear, blonde hair veiling half her face. Her green eyes shut tight, brows furrowed, carrying a worry too heavy for an 8-year-old. James stared, heart clenching. Something familiar in her features. Not a stranger's, but a lost piece of his past. He wanted to call her name, ask 1,000 questions, but his throat was dry, voice a rasp. The hospital door creaked. A woman entered, faint coffee scent trailing her, worry etched on her face. Rachel Evans. James squinted, memories crashing back like waves. Rachel, his wild love 10 years ago, gone without a word. She'd aged a bit, brown hair tied hastily, eyes weary but sharp. Seeing James awake, she froze, gripping her coffee cup like a lifeline. "James," she whispered, voice trembling. No embrace, no tears, just a heavy silence, a decade's distance. "Is Sophie my daughter?" James asked, voice hoarse, each word clawed from his chest. Rachel didn't answer at once. She glanced at Sophie, still asleep, then sat by the bed, eyes dodging his. "She's your daughter," she said, low but firm. "I meant to tell you, James. So many times. But you were building Carter Tech, jetting across continents, sealing billion-dollar deals. I feared you'd feel trapped. Or worse, you wouldn't want her." James felt his heart crushed. He looked at Sophie, the girl who ran into a deadly alley, called for help, held his hand as he faded. "She knew me," he said, not a question but a painful realization. Rachel nodded, eyes glistening. "I told her months ago. She started asking about her dad, her green eyes like yours, why I dodged family talk. I couldn't lie anymore. But when she learned the truth, she was angry. Said, you had no right to keep Dad from me. Then as she found you." James fell silent. He thought of years filled with numbers, meetings, a cold Chicago penthouse. He believed he had it all, power, wealth, fame. Now seeing Sophie asleep, he saw what he'd missed, a daughter. "She saved me," he whispered, voice breaking. Rachel nodded, a sad smile flickering. "She didn't just save your life, James. She refused to leave, though I tried to take her home. She said, if Dad wakes and I'm not here, he'll think I'm just a dream." Those words cut like a knife. James gazed at Sophie, pain and gratitude surging. He wanted to hold her, swear she'd never feel like a dream again. But another thought struck, the attack. Not random. Those men didn't just steal files, they knew what they wanted. Without Sophie, he might not be here. "Rachel," he said, voice hardening. "Who's behind this? Who knew about Sophie? About me?" Rachel paled, her grip denting the coffee cup. I'm not sure," she faltered, but her eyes betrayed deeper fear than regret. James leaned forward, ignoring chest pain. "Rachel, if someone wants to hurt her, I need to know. Now." She drew a shaky breath. then whispered a name like a curse. Mark. Mark Thompson. That name, a lightning bolt through his mind. Mark, the man who entered Rachel's life after she left him. Controlling, vengeful, and now perhaps the mastermind of an attack that could shatter 3 lives. James gripped the bedsheet, resolve burning. He'd lost 8 years with Sophie. No one would steal her future, or his. Because sometimes one small act can save an entire life. Dawn's faint light slipped through hospital curtains, casting a pale gold glow on Sophie's face. She slept soundly on the plastic chair, her worn brown teddy bear loose in her arms. James Carter watched her, his heart gripped by a strange, fierce emotion. 8 years. 8 years he lived, unaware of this girl, his daughter, who braved danger to save him. Who held his hand as his breath faded on Chicago's snowy ground. Now she was here, more real than any billion-dollar deal or skyscraper he'd built. But the name Rachel uttered, Mark Thompson, loomed like a dark cloud, threatening to shatter this fragile moment. James clenched his fists, chest wounds throbbing, a stark reminder of the attack. "Who is Mark Thompson, Rachel?" he asked, voice low but razor-sharp, honed by resolve. Rachel sat across, her coffee cup cold in her hands. She drew a deep breath, summoning courage to face the past. "He was someone I dated after I left you," she said, eyes lost in the void. "Controlling, jealous, always prying into my life, and yours. When I told Sophie about you, Mark found out. He was furious, said I couldn't let Sophie near you. I left him right after, but Mark doesn't let go easily." Her words hit like a stone in still water, rippling fear through James's mind. He glanced at Sophie, sleeping, oblivious to the danger stalking her. "He knows Sophie's my daughter," James said, not a question but a chilling certainty. Rachel nodded, voice trembling. "I didn't think he'd dare something as bold as the attack. But if he's behind it, James, he's not just after your files. He wants to destroy you, and maybe Sophie." Rage surged in James's chest, but he held it back, unwilling to wake Sophie. He'd lost too much time with her. No one, Mark Thompson or the world, would steal his chance to be a father. "I'll protect her," he said, voice firm as a vow. "No one touches Sophie. Ever." Rachel looked at him, eyes glinting with hope and regret. "I was wrong to hide her, James. I wanted her safe. But maybe she needs you more than anything I could give." Before James could reply, Sophie stirred, green eyes opening wide, sleepy but bright. "Dad," she whispered, voice small but alive. James's heart melted. "Hey kid," he said, keeping his voice steady despite the flood of emotion. Sophie climbed off the chair, dragging her teddy bear, and sat by his bed. "You're okay, right?" she asked, eyes worried but resolute, mirroring his own in life's toughest moments. "I'm okay, thanks to you," James said, gently brushing her blonde hair. Sophie smiled, a grin like sunlight piercing Chicago's gloom. "I knew you were here," she said, confident. "I saw you on TV, in that big building. I knew you were important, but I just wanted to meet you." Her innocent words cut, painful yet tender. James gazed at her, searching for words, but only grasped her hand, small, yet strong, a silent promise. Rachel stood, wiping a tear. "I'll get water," she said, voice hoarse, giving James and Sophie their moment. As the door closed, James met Sophie's eyes. "You were so brave," he said. "You saved me when you didn't have to." "Why Sophie?" She tilted her head, as if the question was too simple. "Because you're my dad," she said. "Mom said you didn't know me, but I thought, if I found you, you'd want to know." Her answer stole his breath. He thought of years buried in work, sleepless nights in the office, hollow victories, all meaningless beside this girl. Then, Rachel's phone buzzed in her bag, left on the chair. James glanced, the screen lit with a message. "You think you can hide her forever? I know where she is." No sender's name, but James didn't need one. Mark Thompson. The threat wasn't a theory, it was closing in, faster than he'd feared. James gripped Sophie's hand, eyes burning with resolve. "Sophie," he said, voice low but warm, "I promise to keep you safe. No matter what, I won't leave you." Sophie nodded, unwavering, as if she'd always trusted him, even when he doubted himself. In that cold hospital room, amid looming shadows, a flame of hope ignited. A father's vow to fight for the daughter fate delivered to him. Dawn's faint light slipped through hospital curtains, casting a pale gold on Sophie's face. She slept soundly on the plastic chair, clutching a worn brown teddy bear. James Carter watched her, his heart gripped by a strange, fierce feeling. 8 years. 8 years he lived, unaware of this girl, his daughter, who braved danger to save him. who held his hand as his breath faded on Chicago's snowy ground. Now she was here, more real than any billion-dollar deal or skyscraper he'd built. But the name Rachel uttered, Mark Thompson, loomed like a dark cloud, threatening to tear this fragile moment apart. James clenched his fist, chest wounds throbbing, a reminder of the attack. "Who is Mark Thompson, Rachel?" he asked, voice low but razor-sharp, honed by resolve. Rachel sat across, her coffee cup now cold. She drew a deep breath, summoning courage to face the past. "He was someone I dated after I left you," she said, eyes lost in the void. "Controlling, jealous, always digging into my life, and yours. When I told Sophie about you, Mark found out. He was furious, said I couldn't let Sophie near you. I left him right after, but Mark doesn't let go easily." Her words landed like a stone in still water, rippling fear through James's mind. He glanced at Sophie, sleeping, unaware of the danger stalking her. "He knows Sophie's my daughter," James said, not a question but a chilling certainty. Rachel nodded, voice trembling. "I didn't think he'd dare something as bold as the attack. But if he's behind it, James, he's not just after your files. He wants to destroy you, and maybe Sophie." Rage flared in James's chest, but he held it back, not wanting to wake Sophie. He'd lost too much time with her. No one, Mark Thompson or the world, would steal his chance to be a father. "I'll protect her," he said, voice firm as a vow. "No one touches Sophie. Ever." Rachel looked at him, eyes flickering with hope and regret. "I was wrong to hide her, James. I wanted her safe. But maybe she needs you more than anything I could give." Before James could reply, Sophie stirred, green eyes opening wide, sleepy but bright. "Dad," she whispered, voice small but vibrant. James's heart melted. "Hey kid," he said, keeping his voice steady despite the surge of emotion. Sophie climbed off the chair, dragging her teddy bear, and sat by his bed. "You're okay, right?" she asked, eyes worried but steady, mirroring his own in life's toughest moments. "I'm okay, thanks to you," James said, brushing her blonde hair gently. Sophie smiled, a grin like sunlight breaking Chicago's gray. "I knew you were here," she said, confident. "I saw you on TV, in that big building. I knew you were important, but I just wanted to meet you." Her innocent words cut, painful yet tender. James gazed at her, searching for words, but only grasped her hand, small yet strong, like a silent promise. Rachel stood, wiping a tear. "I'll get water," she said, voice hoarse, giving James and Sophie their moment. As the door closed, James met Sophie's eyes. "You were so brave," he said. "You saved me when you didn't have to." "Why, Sophie?" She tilted her head, as if the question was too simple. "Because you're my dad," she said. "Mom said you didn't know me, but I thought, if I found you, you'd want to know." Her answer stole his breath. He thought of years buried in work, sleepless office nights, hollow victories, all meaningless next to this girl. Then, Rachel's phone buzzed in her bag, left on the chair. James glanced, its screen lit with a message. "You think you can hide her forever? I know where she is." No sender's name, but James didn't need one. Mark Thompson. The threat wasn't a theory, it was closing in, faster than he'd feared. James gripped Sophie's hand, eyes burning with resolve. "Sophie," he said, voice low but warm, "I promise to keep you safe. No matter what, I won't leave you." Sophie nodded, unwavering, as if she'd always trusted him, even when he doubted himself. In that cold hospital room, amid looming shadows, a flame of hope sparked. A father's vow to shield the daughter fate brought him. In James Carter's penthouse, warm golden lights couldn't dispel the creeping chill. Outside, Chicago drowned in thick snow, each flake whispering of lurking danger. James stood before the security monitor, the deliver man's image, package labeled Sophie Miller, burned in his mind. "No one knows we're here," he repeated, voice less certain than before. Mark Thompson, a name like a shadow, threatening not just him, but the daughter he'd just found. Sophie ate, curled on the sofa, clutching her worn teddy bear, the only reason fear didn't consume him. James turned to Rachel, standing by the door, gripping her phone like a lifeline. "Don't open that package," she said, voice trembling. "If it's Mark, it could be dangerous." James nodded, eyes sharp. "I've called Detective Ryan. He's on his way, but I need to know what Mark wants." Gloving his hands, he lifted the package. Light, too light, as if it held only air. With the caution of a man who'd sealed billion-dollar deals, he unwrapped it. A small box, revealing a folded note and a cheap silver necklace, etched with Sophie in clumsy script. Rachel gasped, hand over mouth. "That necklace? I bought it for Sophie at 3. Mark knew. He kept it after we split. James read the note, voice icy. She's mine, not Carter's. Leave Chicago or both pay. Short, sharp words, a blade at their throats. James crushed the paper, rage flaring in his chest. But he stilled, seeing Sophie stir. She sat up, green eyes sleepy, peering at him. Dad, what's in the box? She asked, her innocent voice twisting his heart. He knelt before her, hiding the note in his pocket. Just a gift, but Dad's not done checking it, he said, voice steady despite the storm within. Sophie tilted her head, sensing tension. Is someone scaring you? She asked. Her question cut, not sharp but raw. James met her eyes, seeing courage and fragility in a child grown too fast. No one scares me, Sophie, he said, taking her hand. Because I have you. You're the bravest person I know. Sophie's smile bloomed, small but radiant, a light piercing the dark. I want to bake with you, she said suddenly. Mom says you can't cook, but I think you can learn. James laughed, first time that night, like a warm breeze in the cold room. Rachel, by the door, gave a sad smile. She always lightens things, she said. James nodded, standing. All right, Sophie. Let's find flour. But you're teaching me, okay? In the sleek, barely used kitchen, James and Sophie fumbled with flour, spilled sugar, laughed as their first cake burned. Rachel joined, guiding them, but her eyes stayed on the door, alert for any sound. In that moment, laughter, baking scent, they felt like a family. Imperfect, but real. Then, James's phone buzzed. Detective Ryan. James, his voice grim over speaker. We found a suspicious car near your building. Signs of surveillance. Don't leave the penthouse. I'm coming. Ryan's words doused the kitchen's warmth. James glanced at Sophie, dusting powdered sugar on a lopsided cake, oblivious to the tightening shadows. He turned to Rachel, eyes resolute. You won't touch her, he said. I built Carter Tech from nothing. I'll protect what matters. Rachel nodded, fear in her eyes. He won't stop, James. He thinks Sophie's his. James took her hand, a gesture absent for a decade. Sophie's our daughter, he said, voice low, fierce. No one changes that. Sophie ran over, holding her misshapen cake, beaming with pride. James knelt, pulling her close. In the brightly lit penthouse, amid snowstorm and unseen threats, he felt a new strength. A father's resolve to keep his family's flame burning. James Carter's penthouse, ablaze with light, couldn't shake the stifling tension. Outside, snow fell, cloaking Chicago like a veil hiding dark secrets. James stood by the kitchen counter, Sophie's lopsided cake still there, burnt sugar lingering, a reminder of their fleeting family moment. But Detective Ryan's call, a suspicious car near your building, signs of surveillance, yanked him back to harsh reality. Mark Thompson didn't just know their location. He was closing in, each second tightening the noose around Sophie. The 8-year-old sat on the sofa, sketching stars on paper. James watched her, heart gripped. Sophie looked up, green eyes bright, smiling as if unaware of the stalking shadows. Dad, this is for you, she said, holding up her drawing. A big star, 3 figures hand in hand, James, Sophie, Rachel. He took it, fingers trembling. Thank you, he said, voice catching. I'll keep it forever. But in his mind, the note's threat echoed. She's mine, not Carter's. Mark didn't just want revenge. He wanted Sophie, making James's blood boil. Rachel stood near the door, eyes scanning the room. James, is Ryan here yet? She asked, voice low, urgent. James checked his phone, nodded. 10 minutes out. I've had building security lock all entrances. He knelt before Sophie. Sweetie, Mom and I need to talk to a police officer. Can you draw another picture? Sophie nodded, but her eyes held an unspoken question. James ruffled her hair, hiding his strain. I'll be right back, he promised. When Detective Ryan arrived, Chicago's chill clinging to his coat, the room grew heavy. He set a file on the table, eyes grave. We checked the car, Ryan said. Empty, but inside, photos of Sophie. From school, the park, even Rachel's house. Mark's not alone. He's had her tailed for weeks. Rachel covered her mouth, hands shaking. What does he want with Sophie? She whispered, voice breaking. Ryan met James's gaze, eyes darkening. We found emails on an attacker's computer. Mark's not just after Carter Tech files. He sees Sophie as leverage, to extort you or ruin your name. He knew she was your daughter long before. Ryan's words hit like a fist. James clenched his hands, nails biting palms. He knew about Sophie before Rachel told her, he said, voice ice cold. He planned this. Ryan nodded. Mark worked for a Carter Tech rival, fired for fraud. He blames you for his downfall. Finding Sophie was his chance for revenge. James glanced at Rachel, her eyes brimming with regret. I didn't know, she said. I didn't know he'd go this far. James paced, mind reeling. He thought of Sophie, saving him in the alley, drawing stars, calling him dad though he hadn't earned it. He won't touch her, he said, voice steel. I want security tightened. I want Mark caught before he gets close. Ryan scribbled notes, nodding. We're tracking him. But James, be careful. Mark has nothing to lose. After Ryan left, James sat beside Sophie, her new drawing, a house, smoke curling from the chimney. Dad, I want to live here, she said, dreamy. With you, Mom, and a dog. James smiled, heart heavy. We'll have that house, he vowed, unsure what blood and sweat it would cost. Rachel stood behind, eyes softening at father and daughter. She trusts you, she said. And so do I. That night, Sophie slept soundly in the guest room. James and Rachel sat by the window, Chicago blanketed in snow. I never thought I'd be a dad, James said, voice low. Now, I can't imagine life without her. Rachel took his hand, a gentle, meaningful touch. She brought us back together, she said. Even facing Mark, I don't regret it. In the dark, James felt a new flame, not just resolve to protect Sophie, but hope for a family he'd never dared dream of. Then his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. You can't hide her forever, Carter. James stared out, snow still falling. He knew, the real storm was just beginning. James Carter's penthouse, wrapped in glass overlooking snow-draped Chicago, couldn't hide the unease seeping into every breath. Soft golden light fell on Sophie's drawing. A house with a chimney, 3 figures hand in hand. A reminder of what James fought to protect. But the text from an unknown number. You can't hide her forever, Carter. Cut like a cold blade through their fragile peace. Mark Thompson wasn't just a threat. He was a storm, and James knew, without swift action, he'd sweep away all he'd just found. James stood by the window, eyes scanning Chicago's skyline, towers gleaming like lighthouses in the night. Rachel sat on the sofa, hands clasped, face pale under the lamplight. What do we do, James? She asked, voice hoarse, each word dredged from deep fear. James turned, gaze firm but not cold. We find him before he finds Sophie, he said. Detective Ryan's tracking him. Carter Tech's private security is setting cameras around the area, checking Mark's traces. Rachel nodded, but her eyes wavered. He's not alone, she said. He always manipulates others. If he's tracked Sophie for so long, he may know more than we think. James clenched his fists, nails biting into palms. He thought of the package, the silver necklace etched with Sophie's name, the threatening note. Mark didn't just want extortion or revenge. He sought control, to invade the family James was starting to build. Soft footsteps echoed from the hallway. Sophie appeared, swimming in James's oversized sweater, dragging her teddy bear across the floor. Dad, I can't sleep, she said, voice sleepy but clear. James knelt, pulling her close, her warmth chasing the chill within. What's wrong, sweetheart? He asked, stroking her blonde hair. Sophie met his eyes, green and glowing like a moonlit lake. I dreamed of a man. He stood outside, watching me. I was scared, but I know you won't let him hurt me, right? Her words struck, not sharp, but piercingly true. James held her tight, voice low but steady. I promise, Sophie. No one will harm you while I'm here. He led her to the sofa, sitting close as she leaned into his shoulder. Rachel watched, a sad smile flickering. She trusts you more than anyone, she said. James nodded, but inside a question gnawed. Did he deserve that trust? Sophie grabbed her drawing, pointing to the tallest figure. This is you, she said. You're the tallest, strongest. I know you do big things like on TV, but I like you here best with me and Mom. James's throat tightened, emotions surging like waves. I like being here too, he said, voice rough. You've changed everything, Sophie. I thought work was all that mattered. Now, I know you're what matters most. Sophie beamed, squeezing his hand, small but fierce, claiming they belonged together. But the moment shattered when James's phone buzzed. Detective Ryan. We found a breached Carter Tech data storage. Ryan's voice rushed over speaker. Someone downloaded your personal files, schedules, addresses, even Sophie's hospital records. We traced an IP to a suburban apartment. It could be Mark. James shot up, eyes blazing. Send me the address, he said. I want him caught before dawn. Rachel grabbed his arm, eyes wide with fear. James, don't go. What if it's a trap? But James shook his head. I'm done running, he said. Sophie needs to know I'll fight for her. He glanced at Sophie, yawning, then back to Ryan. Send a team now. Hanging up, another text hit from an unknown number, brief and chilling. Come, and she disappears. In the brightly lit penthouse, snow falling outside, James stood tall, clutching Sophie's drawing. He knew the battle wasn't just with Mark, but with his own past. This time, he wasn't fighting alone. He had Sophie, Rachel, and a vow carved in his heart to protect his family whatever the cost. Chicago's abandoned parking lot drowned in darkness, flickering streetlights glinting off puddles. James Carter stood in the cold, his breath forming white clouds in the winter air. Mark Thompson's text, "Meet me at the lot, Carter. No cops," a final challenge. James gripped his phone, Sophie's drawing of 3 clasped hands vivid in his mind. Mark had torched their safe house, bound Sophie, spread fake files to smear James's name. But James wasn't alone. Detective Ryan and his team lurked in the shadows, ready to end this nightmare. A black car glided in, headlights off. Mark stepped out, face cold, eyes wild. "Carter," he said, voice low, "you think you can steal Sophie from me? She's mine." James clenched his fists, voice steady. "Sophie's my daughter," he said, each word a vow. "You're just delusional." Mark sneered, raising his phone. "I've got fake files ready for the press," he said. "The world will know you abandoned her." But before he could press send, police floodlights blazed. "Drop the phone, Thompson," Ryan shouted. Mark panicked, lunging for his car. Cops pinned him in seconds. James stood frozen, heart pounding as Ryan cuffed Mark. "It's over," Ryan said, clapping James's shoulder. "You won't hurt anyone again." But searching Mark's car, they found another USB. A video he planned to leak, accusing James of deserting Sophie. James gripped it, eyes steely. "He can't destroy my family," he whispered. Back at a Chicago hotel, James entered the room. Sophie and Rachel waited. Sophie ran, hugging him tight, green eyes sparkling. "Dad, I knew you'd catch the bad guy," she said, voice radiant. James knelt, holding her, her warmth banishing the dark's chill. Rachel stood nearby, tears streaking her cheeks. "You did it," she said, taking his hand. James smiled, voice thick. "We did it. Together." Sophie held up a new drawing, 3 people, a dog, a big sun. "This is our home," she said. "Forever." The next day, James held a press conference at Carter Tech's headquarters. Chicago's skyscrapers gleamed through glass. He stood before the crowd, Sophie and Rachel at his side. "I once thought success was money and power," he said, voice deep, strong. "I was wrong. Success is family, the ones you fight to keep close." He announced a new charity, inspired by Sophie, aiding orphan children. Sophie clapped, eyes proud. Rachel hugged her, smile blazing. Carter Tech wasn't just tech anymore, a symbol of compassion, thanks to an 8-year-old. In their new Chicago apartment, James, Sophie, and Rachel began anew. Sophie's laughter echoed as she played with their new dog, Sunny. Rachel, studying part-time, sketched future plans beside James. One evening, they sat by the window, city twinkling below. "I feared we'd never have this," James said, voice soft. Rachel held his hand. "But Sophie gave us a second chance," she said. Sophie ran over, hugging them both. "I love you, Mom and Dad," she said. James felt his heart whole for the first time. This story isn't just theirs. It's yours, watching now. If you believe in family's power, hit like and share this video. Comment your most moving moment. Don't forget, spend time with those you love today. True happiness isn't fame, it's moments together. Subscribe for more heart-stirring stories, a new journey of courage that'll bring tears. Join our community, share your family story, spread love's light. In Chicago's glow, James watched Sophie draw a new picture. A family, a dog, countless stars. He knew, though darkness came, their family's light would shine on.